Well, Mason, first of all, I do appreciate your time. I got to ask you, first of all, when did you go to Pulaski County?
I was there as a freshman in the fall of 2014. I graduated in 2018.
Good deal. So I guess the biggest question is, what made you want to do this book?
Well, I kind of flirted with the idea of it for a while. I was going to do like a big website and everything, and I kind of always had an appreciation for the history of it. You hear about growing up with Coach Hicks, and he, even though he wasn't coaching anymore when I was growing up, he was still around, and it was, at least when I was a kid, it was always a very big point of pride. So you grow up going to every game and things like that, and I found some resources along the way, like a really good archive website where the Southwest Times, which is our newspaper in Pulaski County, they really documented everything very well. There's information and stats about just about every game that we had ever played, and so that gave me a lot of ability to go back through and get like information about games, statistics, and things like that. And so I guess more than anything, just an appreciation for the history of the program, and what was a lot of very good times for our community as well.
When you look at, how many people did you interview?
Probably about 30 or 40, roughly, give or take. Yeah, it was. I tried to get a few from every few years. So people who graduated 75 to 80, try to get a handful of them, 80 to 85. Try to get a little bit of every era that I covered in the book, and unfortunately a lot of people that I would have liked, of course Coach Hicks, but also Dan Callahan, Kenneth Dobson, some other guys, and lots of players along the way have passed away. So kind of limited me a little bit, but yeah, there was a lot of players, and they were all very, very helpful as well. I think they gave me a lot of anecdotal things that I couldn't have known, what were you thinking when this play happened, or when did you realize that you are going to be state champions and things like that. So just to name a few, Tony Carden, he was one of the early days guys, Ricky Casey, Ronnie Dalton. There was a few more, like Carl Lewis, Eric Webb. They're on the state champion team, and even later times, more at least a little bit closer, like Josh Calfee, Travis Williams, and guys like that. So there's a lot of people along the way that really contributed to it, I think, as well.
When you put this book together, you talked to a lot of people, you saw the numbers. But there's one thing or several things that stood out about you just researching and looking at the history of Pulaski County football from '74 to 2002. What were some of the things, or one thing stood out, and why?
So to me, it's always catching my imagination is 1993 for pretty much the whole season. We were ranked in the USA Today top 25 poll pretty much the whole season. We came up short of state championship. Probably our best overall player, Eric Webb, got hurt, so he didn't play. But just that there was a time when Pulaski County, at one point, they got as high as number 10 in the nation, USA Today poll. That has always blown my mind, that there was a time when Pulaski County was a top 10 team in the whole country, ranked among De La Salle, Mater Dei, some of them. But also, honestly, a big part of it for me was just how consistently they packed out wherever they went. They played games in Alexandria, they played in Fairfax, Richmond, the state championship game, and played some far out in the east, like Lafayette High School and places like that. But no matter where they went, they traveled in flocks, and they really packed the house wherever they went. And and even though I didn't see it firsthand, I was able to get a lot of people that were there for it, and it's even now, all these years later, it's still a very big point of pride for so many people. And I'm hoping I'm able to capture some of those good times that Coach Hicks and his teams brought us, and hopefully for the people that Coach Hicks' wife is still here, and people that maybe have lost some people along the way, maybe I can give them something to smile about too, with those who are no longer here.
What was some of the responses you got? Because I noticed on your Facebook, everybody's like, "Whoa, I want this book. I need this book. I gotta have it."
Yeah.
What were some of the responses?
A lot of people were kind of. The thing that people were most surprised about is that I wasn't there for it, and I did it. I think that a lot of people would think that it would be somebody that was there to experience it firsthand. But most of it has been, just really excited that, it's chronicled, and that, all those good things that may have been lost as time goes on, because now, Coach Hicks, it's been 23 years now, and so it's about that point where, as people continue to, that were there, continue to pass away and everything, that it could have easily slipped away. And, I think a lot of people are just really excited that, some of the history and the numbers and everything that they took such pride in for so long will be chronicled and everything. And I'm hoping that, it's able to bring back a lot of those good memories to those people. But overall, I'd say it's been pretty overwhelmingly positive right now. It's early, like it's fresh off the press, and people are just now hearing about it and stuff. So it's going good for now. It seems like most people have really enjoyed it so far.
How long did it take you to put the whole thing together?
All right, so I'd kind of done bits and pieces of it for probably a couple of years. I would kind of like start with it, then say, never mind, I'm not gonna do it, and kind of do that back and forth. At Fort Tisdale High School, where I'm at now, I coach football there, and so we started practicing right at the beginning of August like everybody else does. And I sat down late June and kind of said, all right, if I'm gonna do this, I wanna get done before football season, so it doesn't take away from that. So I really sat down for probably about 2 months and just, the majority of it probably about 2 or 3 months, but I was on it all day, just nonstop almost, just really trying to get it done and everything. But it was a lot of fun, it wasn't really like I was working on it, it was kind of like, it was a lot of work and a lot of things I had to do, but I really enjoyed doing it, and it didn't feel like I was really working really at all. It was a lot of fun.
Now, we talk about rivalries. Pulaski County, there's a bunch.
Yeah.
When the players, if you did ask them about rivalry and what games stood out, what game or what team did the players say, okay, this is the team that we all know, and I kind of know the answer, but what team kind of stands out when it comes to rivalries with Pulaski County?
Salem Spartans, none other. It's not really sure I'd say it's a rivalry as of late, but certainly, from the White got there 83, so probably 1983 to 02 it was pretty consistently back and forth. We got them a couple times, 2008, once in 2010, but during that 20, 30-year stretch of time, man, it seems like it was must-see TV. That was the game everybody went to, Salem Stadium or Dobson Stadium, and lots of heavyweight fights. There's the year we won a state championship, they beat us, and then they won a state championship when we beat them that same year. So it was a lot of heavyweight fights, very few blowouts. Even if one team had a much better record, that was always the game that, everybody wanted to be a part of. And it's far from the only one, though. We didn't play them as often, but EC Glass stood out with Bo Henson. Patrick Henry had their years, certainly, especially early on when White was still up there. They had a few years through the 80s and 90s. William Fleming had some tough teams, especially late 90s, Lee Suggs and guys like that. And there's a lot more through the years. Later on, Blacksburg kind of became that. Christiansburg, some teams when we moved to the River Ridge kind of picked up some different teams. But there were times through the years, K-Spring, the Barber brothers, of course, being as well known as they were. But yeah, lots of good rivalries. Roanoke Valley District, Northside, that was a good one. Their head coach for a long time, Jim Hickam, had been at Pulaski High School, and he actually came to Northside when they merged. So he kind of had some, whether he'd admit it or not, I'm sure he had some desire to win, maybe more than others. But yeah, man, it was a lot of good rivalries. Salem probably would be the number one, but plenty more to choose from as well. But I would say definitely Salem.
You mentioned the time it took and the dedication and to get it published and all of that. Mm-hmm. I guess the biggest question I'll ask you, and maybe if I did ask it, but I'll ask it another way. Because you put a lot of time into it. Mm-hmm. And to do the research, because over 600 pages, that's a lot of work. Yeah. What is the biggest thing you hope people, when they put their money down for this book, what do you hope is the biggest thing they get out of it and why?
I just hope that, for the people that were there, that, it's able to bring back some of those good memories and everything. And that's one thing about Coach Hicks and his teams, man. Like, as cool as it is to win games and district and region titles and even a state championship at one point, I think a lot of times it's the memories of, like, if you're a player, having been a player yourself, it's a special time when you're playing football and that you're able to win some games and things like that. So for people that experience it firsthand, just capture those memories and, maybe bring back some good times and everything. For people that weren't there, like myself, it's a way that you can document history. And so that way, you have a way of knowing, if you grow up in Pulaski, you hear about it all the time when you're a kid, but, maybe a little bit more of a forensic kind of way of looking at it, I guess you could say. So more than anything, just to preserve the history that we have where I'm from and the history of football there. But more than anything, I just hope it's something that people can enjoy and, kind of look back on some good times, things like that.
So in essence, if I'm wrong by asking this question or saying it, please correct me, but when you talk about from 74 to 2002, it is kind of the Joel Hicks era for the most part.
For the most part,
time.
For the most part.
He's had the success. And how much interaction did you have with Coach Dix, as before he passed? And what is one thing you would like to say about him if there's one thing when you talk to everybody about him, what was it that stood out about him and what?
More than anything, man, I mean, look, he won 300 games. He had one losing season in 36 years as a coach. State championship, Division VI, back when that was like I guess the 6A now, but countless region and district titles. So that speaks for itself. But more than anything, man, there was one player that we had named Andre Eves. He was a state champion quarterback, and I ran into him one time, and he told me that he hadn't been playing for him for 30 years now. And Coach Hicks always called him about once a week, just saying how you're doing, is there anything I can do to help you out? So I think more than anything, just that he wanted to win and he wanted to do it the right way. But to me, just how much he was really invested in the kids he coached, and that's a big thing as a coach, because you're a high school kid, 14 to 18 years old. That's the point in your life where, if you have a good, role model and for some kids even a father figure, that can make a big difference in your life and the trajectory that you're on. So I would say the wins speak for itself and everything, but I'd say just the passion he had for the game and, the genuine care and desire to help out the kids that he coached all through the years. Even if it wasn't, it wasn't always just the superstars either. It was, some of the guys that might not played a whole lot or, guys that were kind of just along for the ride and things like that. As for how much I interacted with him, I saw him a few times through the years. He was known to always be running at Randolph Park or Bissett Park and Radford and Dublin. He was humble as could be. He'd talk to anybody if you slowed down. He always has a little dog with him, but he was always really friendly. I would ask him random questions through the years, and anytime I saw him, and he was always more than happy to talk to you no matter what. It seemed like he was all things considered, he's a very down-to-earth guy. And I think that's really easy to appreciate that.
If someone's interested in getting a copy of your book, how would they get it, or how do you want to do it?
Yeah, so the best thing you could probably do, I have a Facebook page called The Days of Gold, which is the title of the book here. There's a Facebook page. It's led by me, of course, Mason Clark. I will go on there anytime I order them and get more of them. I'll say probably I'll be here on this day, I'll be there on that day. Trying to get some things figured out about having a book signing kind of thing with some places in Pulaski County. So probably that, but I'm available on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, anything like that, if you'd rather contact me that way and do it individually. So, the Facebook page is probably the best bet, but I'm available many other ways as well.
Good deal. All right, anything else you want to add or say, or I might have missed?
No, I think that does it pretty good.
Good deal.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.